Okay. Hello, everyone. I just want to call the meeting to order. Today is our curriculum, pupil personnel, athletics, and co-curricular activities committee meeting. Ghazala is the chairperson, but she cannot be here today. For a good reason. Our boys soccer team, our high school boys soccer team is currently right now at the state sectional semifinals in Hunterdon, and her son is a member of the team. So that's why she could not be here. She sends her apologies for that. And also Mrs. Fabiano had a prior commitment. All right, so we're going to start the meeting with an overview of our social emotional learning programs.
We're really excited to have an opportunity to share what's been going on in the past few years, actually, coming out of our COVID pandemic. But even before that, we laid the groundwork for our SEL work in the district. It was really something that was foundational as we transitioned back into the classroom, and we, worked on our students' kind of assimilation back into, interacting with each other as students, interacting with us as a district and our families. And Ms. Goldberg is here. She's our staff development coordinator, and she's been integral in this process. She's the common connection between each one of our schools. And she's going to give an overview of what our program looks like and how it kind of is threaded through everything we do. But she's been the heartbeat of the program since its inception back in probably 2018, 2019. So Ms. Goldberg has a brief presentation for us, and then we can answer any questions.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm very excited to share our work on social and emotional learning. I'm super passionate about this, and I think you'll see by what we've done in Monroe, a lot of our teachers are passionate about it as well. I just wanted to start with talking about what SEL is, and we take a lot of our guidance, most of our guidance, from the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, otherwise known as CASEL. They are the lead organization nationally on social and emotional learning. And actually I believe at this point, it's over 30 states have adopted their SEL competencies, their definitions, and their guidance. So we take the guidance straight from them. And this is their official definition of SEL, which speaks a lot about helping children identifying and establishing healthy identities, positive self-esteem, connections with others, equity throughout their lives, the district. And we pretty much every time that we run any sort of SEL programming conversation, we start with the definition and we get grounded in this definition. In 2022, our SEL team, which I'll speak about in a little while, developed with a few of different stakeholders in the district, a vision statement for social and emotional learning, a Monroe vision statement. And we went through a strict protocol to develop this vision statement. And I do want to take a second to read it with you because I think it's really powerful and drives all the work that we're doing here. And it states that Monroe Township School District strives to create a culture that promotes a safe, supportive, and inclusive community where students grow and thrive as unique learners and individuals. We are committed to building and nurturing meaningful relationships among students, staff, and families by modeling caring connections and fostering a development of social and emotional skills. We will empower our students to reach their fullest potential as productive members of society who can effectively navigate our world. So we use this vision statement, again, to align with our goals and the definition, and we get grounded in this as well. And actually, when we wrote this vision statement collaboratively with teachers, some administrators and supervisors, we said it was going to be a 3-year vision statement. So technically this year, we've started to take a look at this vision statement to see if this is still where we are. And at our last articulation meeting, it seems like this is pretty much in line with what we want to do. So that's where we are with our vision statement. Some benefits of SEL that we speak about, of course, it's about long-term improvements with skills, reduction of anxiety, depression, an increase in positive mental health. I do want to point out, though, in 2011, there was a huge research meta-analysis done with 213 schools that used formal and informal SEL programming. And after that meta-analysis, they discovered that students gained 11 percentile points on academic standardized testing when involved in some sort of SEL work. So that's an interesting statistic. And since 2011, there's been other research done as well. So I like to take a minute, this video is from Castle, to get grounded in our work by defining what exactly is SEL. And I really can't do it any more justice than this video. Are you talking? Okay. So if you guys want to take a look and see what we have here. Easy. Sure.
School should be where everyone feels comfortable and everyone should know that everyone's unique and you don't have to be perfect.
SEL is really about the holistic development of young people.
Social emotional learning to me provides students with purpose. SEL was a great foundation and catalyst for me. It taught me to value education and value human connection.
Social and emotional learning is the process by which children grow and develop their emotional lives and their relationships.
What social and emotional learning gives the space where people can actually look at students as more than just numbers on a standardized test. We give people the space to explore who they are as people, to look at their identity, to recognize how important relationships are and what it means to be a successful human, not just a successful student.
In my classroom, they are able to share the things that are personal to them. They're able to celebrate one another's differences. They're inclusive of each other despite what race, socioeconomic, or gender they're from.
SEL promotes academic achievement in effective ways, raising test scores 11 percentile points. It reduces anxiety and distress as well. So it improves pro-social behavior, how kids get along and attend in the classroom.
SEL is rocket fuel. It is the thing that can actually accelerate the advancement of our society.
When I think about a healthy environment for my daughter, I'm looking at, are those teachers engaged? Are they showing her to be an empathetic person? When teachers are engaged and they have that engagement with the students are going to excel.
The educators, the families, the community members, and the students agree that this is important.
How do we make sure that kids don't just get a segment of their life where social and emotional learning is important, but they're getting that in all parts of their life? Right now, we have an untapped pool of talent. And so the idea is to leverage SEL in order to help young people realize those talents and thereby help the broader society and in fact the world.
We really can create schools that inspire, that help students find their sense of self, that help students find their sense of purpose, to learn how to relate to one another, and to better prepare kids for wherever they choose to go in life.
Well, SEL taught you to step up when you need to, but also step back when you had to. So you were creating space for yourself, but also making space for others.
Now we open a new chapter, and the new chapter is inviting educators, families, young people, scholars, policymakers, inviting the whole country into the dialogue about the kind of social and emotional development we want to promote for all of our children in the future.
Okay, so I generally show that video when I'm introducing SEL for the first time to people. It's just a little clip, and just to inspire us all as to why we're working on SEL so much. Another piece of information I want to share with you is these are the 10, according to Castle, these are the 10 indicators of school-wide SEL success. And they're broken down by, like, specifically in the classroom, what happens in the school, and then in the wider community with families and communities. As an SEL district team, we looked at all of these indicators and we decided that a realistic goal to start to work towards as a district would be the supportive school and classroom climate goal or indicator of success. So as we move forward, you'll hear me speak a little bit about the way that the schools have designed their school action plans. They're all tied to this specific goal, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit more depth in just a moment. Additionally, these are the 5 SEL competencies that the state of New Jersey adopted in 2017, taken from CASEL. So I know for a fact that at least 28 states have adopted these specific competencies. So this means that the competencies of self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills should be addressed throughout our schools, throughout our day, tied to curriculum, whenever we could possibly integrate these skills. These are the main SEL skills. They're transferable skills, they're life skills, and this is what we're trying to work on in our classrooms and with our kids. Teachers have been trained in this. We have a lot of admin who've been trained in this. And we continue to revisit these competencies all the time. So a little timeline about where we were and where we are and where we're going. In 2021-22, we formed SEL teams, and we never had school-based SEL teams before. So the SEL teams, we have a team at each school. They are comprised of at least 1 teacher, 1 admin, and 1 mental health professional, and then some volunteers as well. And then in 22-23, so in 21-22, we started to look at some data. We got grounded in what LCL means. It was just the beginning. Then in 22-23, we started to look at our panorama data and identify our goals, our vision, and we really put together action plans at that point for each individual school. And each school had to create a school goal that was related to students, staff, and community, an SEL goal. Okay? And related to the 5 competencies as well. In 23-24, we continued to use, we shifted away from Panorama and we implemented student focus groups and staff surveys to gauge data on how students and staff feel about the competencies, how they're working towards the competencies, and other skills as well, like grit, resiliency, critical thinking. And we also decided on this school district-wide goal, which I mentioned before, which is school-wide and classroom learning environments will be supportive, culturally responsive, and focused on building relationships and community. So that's our current goal, and every school is working towards that goal right now. And under that goal, they have a student, staff, and family goal that's aligned to this district goal. And where we are now, this current year, is we're really engaged in the cycle of continuous improvement at this point. We look at data, we create an action plan, we create an action step, implement, analyze our data from our focus groups, our staff surveys, and then reset our goals. So we're just in a cycle, and we are constantly looking at the student, staff, and family goals and revisiting our competencies. Some other things we're doing right now, we're members of the CASEL Community Partnership. I meet with CASEL once a month in a large group, and then we have a CASEL mentor who's mentoring our district. I speak with the mentor regularly on our current work, and he offers guidance as well. And we have a lot, and I mean a lot, of ongoing professional development in the district related to SEL. Where are we going? We have just brought on the Nurtured Hearts approach. Jen Roldan was able to write a grant, bring it into the district for our K-5 schools. And we're being trained in the Nurtured Hearts approach, which is really about relationship building. And we have a lot of PD related to that. And then in grades 9 through 12, we brought in for the last 2 in-service days, capturing kids' hearts. So those are some current programming that we're doing outside of what we've already been doing. Our SEL teams are expected to meet once a month. They create the action plans, they communicate the goals to the staff, they run PD within their schools. They send somebody from their teams once a month, and we meet as a district articulation group to look at our overall goals, get some PD. We are constantly looking at our plans and revising and collaborating. So I'm not going to read you all that, but they're very, very active. And I visit with them every time they meet. I try to visit with the teams if my schedule allows. Some of the PD that we're offering ongoing, you can see we have all kinds of PD. PD is offered to the district, optional PD. I give PD to the team leaders. I work one-on-one with individuals who want individual instructional coaching on SEL. We have all different kinds of combinations of PD, on demand and prepared PD. So that's the background of what we've done so far with SEL, and I could spend hours talking about it, but I know I'm limited. So what I would like to do right now is share a little bit of what's happening actually in our schools. I've asked members of our team to send me samples of what's happening in their schools, and I do have to say, I've been blown away about where they were and where they are right now, and what I'm sharing with you is literally a little tiny speck of what they're doing, because they are doing so much. So I'm going to share, and I certainly can't do it justice the way they can, but Oak Tree has created a acronym for Falcon, and they've created some Fiona, Felix, and Finn, who are watching our Oak Tree students, and very, very adorable. And they've talked about with their students in various ways about what it is to be a Falcon. And by doing this, they've shared how it will work. They share with parents through a newsletter how they can help at home. They have pep rallies. They have awards, a reward system when they're caught being a Falcon. They have Falcon posters all over their school. So that's a little bit about Oak Tree's programming. They've combined with their character ed committee to create their SEL team, and their character ed has joined together to create this program. Mill Lake, and I should say, pretty much all of our elementary schools are doing something along the same line as Oak Tree, where they create a trait of the month or some sort of acronym to live by. So Mill Lake has had an SEL assembly. They have a trait of the month. They also, for their teachers, they have a tremendous Google Classroom where for each trait of the month, they upload videos, read alouds, activities for their teachers to access and teach SEL skills in the classroom integrated with what they're already doing. The SEL team is hard at work there, putting that together. And this is their bulletin board that they have where they can earn feathers for being, doing well at their monthly traits, being good, and so forth. And Barclay's version of that is called GREAT. They have a Great Kid Wall of Fame, and their GREAT stands for growth mindset, respect, empathy, acceptance, and trust. And they can catch students and staff being great, and they get rewarded and recognized for being great. They get tickets, they have bulletin boards, and they have whole school recognition for this as well. And again, these are just some of the things that they're doing, not everything. Applegarth recently just had an SEL night, and they combined it with their STEM night. So they focused on relationship building with staff and parents and students working together to solve problems. They worked on teamwork, they worked on empathy, and it was related to a Halloween theme as well. So those are just a few pictures from their STEM night. SEL night. And Brookside got 3 slides because I couldn't fit it all in on But Brookside also, they have an affirmation and they have a trait of the month. But what they're doing with their trait of the month is they're also giving their staff ways to talk about it, ways to engage with it. They sent home also a newsletter to their parents on how they could talk about the trait of the month at home. But what I like that they're doing is they have this goal tracker, and students are keeping track for themselves. So we're teaching students about goal setting on how they are developing their traits of the month, like respect, trustworthiness, honesty, all of those good transferable character ed skills. And then they get to play bingo. And if they get 5, I believe it's that they get 5 in a row, they support that with evidence, they get a reward, and then they're working towards a whole school reward, like a picnic at the end of the year, that sort of thing. So that was Brookside. And Wonderful Woodland, Wroclaw, same thing. Their theme is growing, like, and for Halloween, they were flowers to keep along with the teachers were flowers to keep along with the theme. And same sort of thing, trait of the month, Pop Being Good. They have growth logs. They're tracking their positive behavior. And this, again, is all tied with our competencies. They're self-managing. They're self-aware of their behavior. So we're addressing those competencies. And they also do an assembly a month with their SEL traits. So I believe this month was responsibility. Monroe Middle School, I tried to include a few different things that they're doing. During the week of October, I believe it was earlier in October, they had a spirit week. And on one of those days, it was Wear a Positive Message Day. And you could see teachers all over the school and students wearing positive messages of affirmation, a lot of good SEL words. They have a very active staff SEL Google Classroom where they are trying to build staff-to-staff relationships as well as ideas for how to implement SEL in the classroom. I know currently they're working on a staff cookbook for Thanksgiving where staff can load their favorite traditional family recipes and share with one another. So they're really working on their staff goals there as well. And then they are very focused on a program through ADL called No Place for Hate, where it's a big push on promoting tolerance for all. And certainly I'm not going to read this to you, but they put applications out to their students to apply to be a leader on their No Place for Hate committee. And this is just one sample of what one student wrote in. So you could see the need for No Place for Hate and for SEL. No Place for Hate is under the SEL umbrella. So that's really good positive work. And I believe this is year 2 that they're really fully engulfed with No Place for Hate. And in Monroe Township High School, we have 2 things that I wanted to share with you. Our SEL team is working with our school leadership at each faculty meeting. They are working on staff-to-staff morale and relationship building for one of the competencies where they get a little like ticket and they fill out what they're grateful for. They do a recognition for another staff member. They put it in a box, and then those get distributed to each person's mailbox who receives one the next day. So it's kind of nice to walk into the building, get a recognition from your staff member. And then our students in graphic design took our 5 competencies poster and they redesigned it, which I think I like this much better than the New Jersey one, actually. And they've copied this poster and it's being distributed to be hung in every single classroom. So we can start to remind our teachers and our students about the 5 competencies as well. So that's a little bit of a taste of what our schools are currently doing. They have a lot more planned than this. And we have a lot more PD, so we're doing a lot of training with our schools. I should have mentioned also the high school has an SEL team of students. And last year, those students came in and they trained the teachers on SEL competencies, which was very cool on our in-service day. We got a lot of positive feedback on that. So, and that is a drive-by of the very deep work we're doing with SEL. So.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. That was very nice.
Thank
Very
you.
well put together.
Sorry if I went over time.
No, I just want to ask, is this going to be on the website or not?
So I included it in the executive content. I just uploaded it earlier. I'll go through and see if there's anything in here that we need
Any
to.
part of the
Yeah.
presentation that we could put for the
Yep.
parents to
Yep.
look at?
Yeah, I think this is great for the business.
Yeah.
I have a question too. It's kind of parallel to positive behavior support in schools, except you have the parents and the community involved. How, and after this committee meeting, the Citizens Advisory Committee meets. How can we get that group as a community involved in this also with the schools? Is that something that committee can do down the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like 3 aspects to this. You have the students, the staff, and then parents. slash community.
Community,
So
right.
each school has a goal specific to one of those areas.
Okay,
So I think it's something as the district SEL articulation
Right.
occurs and we each year decide on areas of focus based on what our needs are and needs driven really by the students, right? And students' parents and staff parents. There certainly could be an opportunity to engage, either a specific group or what each building is really doing. You saw what the Applegarth piece is. We do a lot of, especially at the elementary school, middle school, but even at the high school, a lot of events that involve parents and students. That in itself, it has SEL embedded in it. It's just a matter of focusing, highlighting, and making those connections. We've had STEM nights at Oak Tree and Applegarth for years. We just look at it through a different lens, apply different terminology, make sure there's a different connection, and we really bring it all together.
we could bring community to those nights at the schools, so they can see what the schools are doing with, SEL.
Sure.
I think it's something, I know what it is. I don't know if you know Vinnie DeLucia from New Jersey School Boards Association, but that's his big project in New Jersey is SEL. But I wanted to know also, if you don't mind, do you start this SEL with all the students or students that you, see through the year or that they need it?
This is for everybody.
Everybody,
It's
that's
for
what I wanted to-
everybody, every teacher, every student,
Okay,
and
everybody across the board.
in our district, we don't teach SEL explicitly, like, we don't do SEL lessons per se. We
Right.
integrate it with everything that
Right.
we do.
That's what,
We're really focused on developing those 5 competencies whenever we can.
okay.
So, like, we give examples like, responsible decision-making. We could look at a person in history, in a history class and say, why did that person make that decision that they made? Was that a good decision, bad decision? That's teaching responsible decision-making integrated through
So
curriculum.
it's K through 12.
K through 12
That's all
for
I wanted to
everybody.
know.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
I have a question.
No problem.
Extremely good
It
presentation.
was
I loved
great.
it and I'm glad
It was great.
that I attended today because it's something new
Yeah.
for me and
Yes,
I learned
me
very
too.
good. Teachers and students, I understand, are together, in the school. How are families involved in this?
So right now, currently, most of our schools in their parent goal have a goal to inform and teach the parents resources that they could use at home to support the school goal. So like, how do you teach these 5 competencies at home? So they communicate that through usually a newsletter.
Okay.
Or I know at conferences, some schools have like an SEL table where they hand out like resources. So, but almost all of our schools are communicating through a newsletter of some sort at this point.
Have you seen a difference that the parents are involved and they like it or they suggest something?
Yeah, and I think it's opened the communication with parents and teachers as well.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
Mr. Zeigler, you had a question?
Yeah, perhaps more than one, but
It's okay.
please forgive me.
He
but,
likes that.
This is something new to me, and so I'm going to assume that the purpose of you coming before us was to give us, because I assume it's coming from 2021. Am I correct? It's been ongoing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is an update, kind of something we've been
You're
threading and
giving
building.
us
Yep.
An update presentation
Yep.
of SEL, is that,
Yep.
that's basically?
Yes.
See, I didn't really, I started hearing it, and then as you went through it, it was very comprehensive. I was writing down all kinds of objectives, and what were the questions I was gonna ask you? And as you went through, then I started to realize, first I thought it was a new program, and I had no idea. And I wish someone would tell me in the beginning, state an objective, let me know, I didn't know. And so, as I went through it, I became aware of what the program was, the integration component, which is what it really is. And, so I just wanted to clarify that, otherwise you did.
Yeah,
You
great.
did give me enough information, that you did clarify it, and I thank you for that, and I have nothing more.
Okay.
I want to, okay.
I just had one question, because I just wanted to, you started out the presentation, Castle, the
Yes.
video, they mentioned that there was 11% improvement in test scores.
Yeah.
Have we been tracking that data at all since we've implemented the SEL?
We really
Not really.
Not yet.
So
Okay,
we really got this rolling COVID-ish, right? So our data is really, we're just starting, basically
Yeah.
baseline data.
Got
So
it.
I think, it's something to monitor, but we're also ramping up the integration within the classroom as well. So I certainly think this is benefiting our students. There are many other variables that I would say it would be very challenging to isolate this variable as something that more or less, because we look at the program at large, our MTSS supports have increased with targeted academic,
Simultaneously, with so many
interventions, right.
things going on that it would be hard to isolate.
Right, but I certainly think that the core, if you hear the words that are often talked about, it's honesty, trustworthiness, decision-making, those core skills as a foundation for any learning will only benefit.
Okay.
So one of the things that I wanted to add, and I think, it was an excellent presentation. I think one of the things that we should definitely share, and I think Mr. Ziegler helped me. This came to my mind when he was saying this. So this language is really not anything new. It's packaged now because we had this horrific, pandemic that really affected our children, affected our adults, affected our community, affected everybody. So we came out and said, how can we move forward? But prior to this, and I like that you brought this up, we've always had character education, so which has been a foundation in the elementary schools. And in the middle school, it's always been the middle child, so it's always been the whole child. We've been teaching to the whole child, social, emotional, and academic forever. Because, and she was my teacher. We worked together. So that is the team concept about the whole child and looking at these needs. So I think what we've been able to do is, from a terrible tragedy that affected the whole world, let's be honest, we were able to stop and say, we do these things really well through character education programs in all the different schools. And there's always been like an acronym, or back when Brookside was the dog, was the bulldog, whatever it was, and things have changed. So now we've had an opportunity that companies, not-for-profit, the state recognizes what we've always done, but maybe not done cohesively. So you always had character education program, and then we kept character ed for a little while in the 6th grade when we became the large middle school, and then we changed things. And we've always had, the whole child. We used to have professional development, all about the whole child, social, emotional, academic in the middle school. And then the elementary always had the different character counts. If you go into the middle school, the rugs were made, respect, all the different pillars of character. So I think what this has done is, which I think is a beautiful thing, that we've taken from a bad thing, which is how COVID affected our children in our community. And we've taken it to the next level to say, wait a minute, we've done these things in tidbits, we've done these things in segments, but now we have a foundation. And through our staff developers, we're fortunate that they can take this on, and she's very passionate about it, can take this on so that it's all coming under one umbrella. So I did want to say that because I think it's important to note that, and we've been together for 20-something years, that we've always done this, but now it's being done in such a fashion where it's guided.
I think the biggest shift now, I would say, I'm trying to get, is this, the 5 competencies. That's really, there's been a lot of research in the last probably 10 to 12 years about the value of these specific competencies, and that these are transferable skills. I shouldn't bring this up because I can't remember the research I read off the top of my head, but this is what businesses are looking for now. This is what, when you go on an interview. So these are, this is the grounding. It's everything what you just said, plus this. So that's kind of.
Which real world life applications.
Right.
The real, that's what we say when we teach our children. Our comment our thing was make a good citizen, right? So in middle school, we want to make a good citizen. What's a good citizen? What does that mean? So now it's that same concept. And I do think that's very true. And I think there was a shift, I want to say it was probably 25 years ago, when the business world were really looking at this. It went away from it for a while, but they were really heavy into the staff developer, and they were looking at industrial psychology and what it meant to have staff development and have people be able to work together in the workplace, and, no more separate rooms. And then they had the little cubicles, and then they took down the walls. It's all that concept. And we're learning in school, nothing really goes away. It just everything comes back in a cycle. And like I said, it was COVID, which was a terrible thing, but then through the ESSA funds and through the organization, we now are able to say it shouldn't be in isolation. You're not just going to teach, because we used to teach character ed. You had a character ed class. Now we say, no, character education. What does it mean? Creating good citizens, having these competencies should be threaded across all content areas. And I do think that each school, although we try and be very respectful to say that education-wise, every there's only one middle school, one high school, but every elementary school is providing the same foundation, the same academics. But let's be honest, everybody has their own flavor. Every school has their own culture. And that's so very true. Even like, Halloween's huge here. So, and I love Halloween. So we went to every school and it's amazing to see. They all go out, but they always thematic. It's all about themes, which I love because that's the concept of what's going on here. This is thematic. It lasts and lives in every area. This was an excellent presentation. I have to say
Thank you very much for bringing that to the board.
Excellent.
Okay, any other questions before we move on? You had another
I
question?
did look at the research and I was very pleased with what I've seen with the SEL. And everything you said is right on target on this, obviously. The only question I have is, have we done, this has been in place for a lot of years. After each workshop, you're getting, the teachers get an evaluation.
Survey.
Yep. Evaluation.
Surveys, evaluations, they do it all
Come up with.
Yeah.
And it is very important. It's just like it's important when you survey, and she was saying that surveying children,
Yeah.
they're talking about
In
We don't
2023,
use that, but now we do focus groups.
focus groups.
Mhm.
Last school year, you did from the focus group.
Yes.
Groups.
The last 2 school years, we've done focus
Yes.
groups, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
the next item on the agenda is the K-3 standards-based report card update.
But I don't know when this was just a conversation. Remember this was
I
just a
forgot who's doing, who's presenting.
So it's gonna be, Dr. Roselle,
Dr. Roselle, okay.
Ms. Gasco, as well as,
Okay.
Ms. McLeod.
Okay, wonderful.
I'll start just to kind of give an overview. As you know, from the curriculum presentations that we've had, we have updated standards in math and language arts that necessitated our standards-based report card to be updated. We have also had curricular updates, a shift to the MyView literacy program, updated Envisions resources. And it was really time to take a look. I think the first iteration of these report cards was done in 2015. So it was definitely time to take a look at these. But they really were tweaks in language. So I'm going to let Ms. Gasco speak about math, and then Ms. McLeod and I can speak about ELA and kind of the process. This was a committee-driven process. We reached out to the principals to identify staff members at each grade level, both in general education and special education. And the groups of grade level teachers who represented each school worked alongside of us to make these changes this fall.
Okay, so I will start with math. So the overarching changes in math from the elementary level, where they took what used to be called an area called measurement and data literacy, and they separated the two really to put an emphasis on data literacy. So one of the things they want at the lower levels, from the kindergarten through 3rd grade level, is really to have a focus on skills of being able to ask questions. Not just any questions, but very pointed questions in terms of learning and discovering and exploring different things. Another thing that they wanted through is they wanted a progression of solving word problems involving money. Money has been one of these concepts that's been in, that's been out, that's been in. With the incredible use of credit cards, all right, students don't really have that much of an idea of money in terms of what they are, but it is still around. And actually, since COVID and since inflation and things like that, it's actually coming around a little bit more. That their stores are giving you a discounted price for using, actually monetary money as opposed to the credit card. So it actually is working out kind of nice. The other thing that they wanted to focus on all the way through, and it's something that I really truly agree with, I'm very passionate about, is the replacing of the word fluency, which while fluency is important, they want it to be accuracy and efficiency. So it's not just about fluency, but it's actually about being accurate as you're doing it and going through the time. So just as quickly to go through the 4 grade levels, I'm going through. Kindergarten, one of the new standards that they added was basically introducing money, which had not in the past been introduced until grade 2. They wanted to be where there's understanding that certain objects are coins and dollar bills, and that coins and dollar bills represent money. So they will then have, just knowing this is a 5 cent, this is 10 cent, not really needing to know the comparison of them, but just kind of what they are, just an identification. So in the kindergarten report card, some of the things that we added, and you're going to see a similarity through the 4 grades, is we added a problem-solving indicator in each one of those, because that is important at each grade level of what they can do, to basically make sense of problems and perseverance. And that is actually a math practice that they wanted overall, and it was a focus of the new standards. New to the math in kindergarten as well was adding the money standard. And again, it's an identification of what each one is. When you get to grade 1, then they should know the comparative values of the coins and the dollar bills. In other words, they should realize that a dime, while it's smaller, is worth more than a nickel. The things that sound common sense to us, again, a lot of times there's not money laying around the house right now, so it's not the same. Then they want them to use the dollars in in solving problems up to $20. So they're now bringing that monetary value in there, doing different ways. When you get to grade 2, it focuses more on, now at this point, money was always in there, but now that they've been introduced to money, it's actually solving problems that use that. And this is where the data analysis really starts to come in. They want them to understand that people collect data to answer questions, and that being able to identify what could count as data. So that's where the kind of the understanding. So while they changed the wording of fluency to accuracy and efficiency and adding the problem-solving indicator, they also added that they should be able to solve problems involving money. If it's on the report card, it'd also be a focus on the parents who realize this is something that's important. And in grade 3, and again, in addition to the problem-solving, in addition to the data literacy, there's also developing database questions to decide what data will answer the questions, and then to collect student-centered data. So this is kind of the beginning of them really doing the investigations and starting to explore things. So one of the questions was, does this actually have to be a math lesson going through? No, when you're in the elementary level, they're doing all different things at the same time. So the idea is that it would be immersed, the problem solving would be immersed into maybe a project or an activity that they're doing in class. It might have science involved in it, it might have language arts involved in it, it could have some social studies involved in it, going through all the different things. So, and like I said, each of the areas was tweaked in the science and social studies. So as we go through, you'll get kind of a little breakdown of each one of them. All right, so who do you want to go next? Kelly?
Yeah, we'll just go down the line. So for language arts, there were not significant changes in the content of the updated standards, but rather the organization of the standards. There was, however, a section added, and some of the foundational skills expanded upon. So there was one standard, read accurately and fluently. We moved that from a reading standard up to a foundational skills standard. Little things like that. Grade 3 previously had not had a foundational skills section. We added a foundational skills section there and took the writing and reading standards that really fell under foundational skills, and we moved them up there. We made sure that there was alignment in the wording so that the verbiage that we used in our standards indicators is the same verbiage that was used in the standards. And we made some of the indicators a little more concise. So some of them may have been a little verbose, and we wanted to make that user-friendly. Again, the intended audience of a report card is parents, and we want them to make sense of that report card. That pretty much encapsulates the changes in ELA. There were not many significant changes in English language arts. Pass back to Ms. Dress for science and social studies.
So for science and social studies, really what we focused on is just making the language more clear and really focusing on what skills the students were going to be working on. So for example, in kindergarten, kindergarten social studies really focuses on the components of a community. So we wanted to reflect that. What you'll also will see is that you'll notice in science that each year we're seeing more building skills. So in first grade, we want them to show an understanding of the scientific topics, but also then begin to really start to engage in scientific inquiry. And that standard just becomes more clear as we progress on. And in social studies, By the time we get to third grade, we really are giving, a little bit clearer, that the students are understanding historical figures and events, that they are, understanding the connection between geography, people, and the physical environment, and the relationship between the government and civic duties. So we were trying to just more accurately encapsulate what the standards were saying and what the students were actually doing in their time for science and social studies.
And then last but not least, we have the learner behaviors. So as the teachers were working, we realized that the learner behaviors needed to be tweaked as well because we're asking more of our learners. We're changing some of the standards. So we made sure we streamlined it from grade to grade so that as you look at the report cards, you'll notice the learner behaviors are the same and parents can now track from grade to grade to make sure that students are really, I guess, conforming and following rules and procedures and growing as a learner. So some of the changes, basically, they were very small, like following oral and written directions on task. That was to show that this indicator is to be used for classroom tasks. So some of the verbiage. Kindergarten did ask to delete completing homework on time because we really don't want to score 5-year-olds on homework, even though they get work at home. So that was the only thing that was taken out. It was kept in for grades 1 through 5. And then you'll notice we added in cooperatively and collaboratively so that encapsulates how the students are working with each other, especially in science, social studies, when they're working on skills where they have to problem solve and communicate. So that really is just some of the changes that were added there. And then, as you heard with math, problem solving, that was in as well, using problem solving strategies to facilitate independence, which is very, very important. And that was it.
I just want to add too, this sounds like there's only, a few little tweaks that we had, but it actually was 2 full days worth of discussions that we had. We had representatives from each of the schools for each of the grade levels going through, and they were incredible discussions that were going on.
And they've also developed, they took the rubrics, they've developed a summary of changes for their grade levels. And if this is approved and moves forward, they will be sharing this out with everyone in the elementary K-3s so that the teachers are fully aware of the changes.
We were trying to include everything, but make it streamlined enough so that it's not overwhelming to a parent. And I've seen some other districts where it's pages and pages and pages of a report card. I think that this kind of brings in the most important things and it shows the parents kind of what we're focusing.
Okay, thank you. Mike, I noticed it's, from NA to 3. At what point do they start getting number grades? Fourth grade? Fourth grade. Okay, so then these will be 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone else have any
I just
questions?
have a comment, which I was very impressed about the math that you mentioned about the coins that the kids. Because when my boys were little, in beginning, they were in Catholic school, then in public school in North Jersey, they were never taught about it. And I would always go and talk to the sisters in the school, why can't we make them learn that this is a penny, this is 5 cents, 10 cents, and do the multiplication, addition, subtraction from that, and they would say no. So I used to make them learn at home. So this is a good, and I'm so pleased and happy.
It truly is good.
Up to $20 bills.
The standards for 2016, believe it or not, 2016 had it in grade 2 where they were to be solving problems involving money, but there was never explicitly said when they were to learn what money was.
Yeah.
And so they did it kind of combined all together. And the other grades might have had little scores and things like that, but now this is basically saying across the board, this is something that's important. And I think what they did when they redid the math standards is they took a look at what they thought the standards are very good and they're very solid, but what needed to be tweaked, and they tweaked a few things. And even when it comes to fluency has been one of those things that it's been in, it's been out, it's been in, it's been out. The reality is we can't assume things are going to be done at home. A lot are done at home, but we need to make sure that every student has the equal set.
Yeah, every student, because not all the families are saying that they have time or, give time to this.
Yes.
So I'm very impressed. I'm just Happy to
Yeah,
attend this.
I am too. Can I sit in on this committee? I mean, this is wonderful. I have two grandchildren, one in third and one in fourth. And if they're over and they bring the math homework, I'm like, wait, take it home to your mother. Okay, because I can give you the answer in 2 seconds. But he's making all these things and doing, and my husband's being very patient and I'm in there folding laundry because
We didn't learn it that way.
didn't learn it that way. I went to Catholic school where we went up and down the rows with the phonics and the times tables and this and that and this. We memorized it. So it's so wonderful to hear how we're doing it with the children. I mean, they know what a dollar is, my grandchildren. You know, they know that the dollar doesn't go far. Like it did when we were kids. I could go to the penny store when we were kids and get a lot of stuff. But now they're looking for $5 and $10, especially when their teeth come out.
We can't go to McDonald's for under
No, you
20
can't go
bucks.
anywhere for that. And I think that's so great that they understand, because I try to teach them at my house like you do. When they're over and I put the coins down and I have them in my pocketbook, you know, we try to go over on them ourselves. And I know they're doing it in school. Well, I don't know. I mean, one's in Howell, one's East Brunswick, so I don't know what their district is
But
doing.
here we're doing it.
But here we're doing it wonderfully.
Yes.
And it's just it's so great to hear all the presentations this evening. I mean, these children are very privileged to be in this district with the wonderful curriculum committee that's over there.
Even with the science and social studies, what you
The
mentioned.
supervisors are just, you guys are wonderful with everything, and it's so nice to be sitting in on it tonight and learning. I'm learning.
Everyone's different.
Oh, I didn't realize, yeah.
Well, I can tell you that the teachers, when money was brought up, they were really excited because they noticed the deficit as well. So I think everyone is extremely happy that it's back in the
Oh,
standards.
gosh, it should, yeah, it should. Well, I play with
Last round, it was time.
Yeah.
What comes with time right now is the fact that fashionable watches are in right now.
I
When
know.
fashionable watches were not in, then it wasn't as important to learn basically analog time.
Yes.
But we didn't have to focus on that one as much because they picked that one up in 2016.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, learning time is another tough one.
Bottom line is math can be fun, right? So-
Oh, yes.
No, when math is about money, it most certainly is fun. I agree.
As long as it doesn't involve girl math, right?
Yeah. No else.
Okay.
Okay, and I think the final item on our agenda are some curriculum documents we're gonna go over. I don't know who wants to start. There's, Ms. Strauss, Dr.
Okay,
Roselle.
Promise, Ms. Dress, I'll be quick. I
Okay.
have Latin 2. I've
Roselle
been
then.
sending a Latin document, I feel like every month. Latin 2 is primarily taken by sophomores. Like the other Latin courses, there is a focus not only on the language, the grammar, the syntax, but also on reading and translating. When students move to the higher level, whether they're taking the AP or the ALIRA for Seal of Biliteracy, it is primarily a reading and a translation test. Again, a lot of history. So Roman Britain, Roman Alexandria, the First and Second Punic Wars. This is the second of a 2-year minimum. So students who elect to take Latin, they would take Latin 1. They would be required to take at least Latin 2, but many of our students continue on to Latin 3, and then this year AP Latin. So it is a comprehensive document. What I really like about Latin and what makes it different from the other world languages is we study contemporary culture in the other languages, and we were studying a lot of history when we studied Latin. But again, a very comprehensive document I'm proud to present tonight.
And is this high school?
This is high school.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. And also too, they're learning Latin, but also learning Latin culture, history, and things like that.
Yes.
So, okay.
So it starts, Latin 2 is offered to what grade level?
Sophomores?
Yes.
Only for when I do my report.
Absolutely, yes.
I think that's wonderful. I learned Latin, of course, in Catholic school. Years ago, we had to do the mass in Latin. And then I had it in high school. I don't remember a thing.
A lot of our
I can read the math, I can read the math still in
Pre-law,
Latin.
pre-med,
Yes,
they're very
yes, when you-
interested because
exactly.
just that foundation of that vocabulary
So,
is paramount.
Yeah, you're preparing those students for all that type of future. I wasn't gonna be pre-med when I was in grammar school, so, you know, it didn't stick with me. But I still do know the whole mass in Latin, because the nuns made it, forced us.
Those nuns really did a lot. All right.
I want to go back to
Any
school.
questions, other questions on Latin?
Can I go back to school? Because back home in India, I didn't have to. They have such a wonderful thing that I want to find a
know.
pen. Can I have 10?
I just think the way you tie it together.
Yeah, it's so
Read
great.
this stuff, and I'm just blown away because my day and time, many moons ago, it was very different. I'm looking at
Yeah.
this, and I'm so impressed
Oh, yeah,
with it
definitely.
written, and the way it's written, and the way you tie in the history,
Yeah.
you know, and tie that into Latin and the way it's learning vocabulary, but it's linked to historical things. It's really,
Oh, yeah.
it's really unbelievable. So congratulations.
Yeah.
You've done it.
Dr. Mearson
From my
did an incredible job.
perspective,
Oh,
Yes,
just-
he's written an incredible document.
Well done,
pat yourself on the back too.
indeed.
You all need to.
Then we also have now up next, the AP African American Studies and eighth grade Social Studies.
Yes. So, the AP African American Studies is, the new course that we are offering at the high school. Part of this is of course set forth by the AP curriculum framework. So, this is a very interesting, AP course in some of the things that AP is presenting that's a little different than, some of their other history, frameworks. So, the way that they have the course laid out is it has 4 units. You start with the origins of the African diaspora, really giving students an opportunity to see this very vibrant, place with all of the kingdoms and the trade and, what Africa looked like in the past. And then we move through various time periods in African American history, enslavement and resistance, freedom, and then the final unit, which is various movements that have taken place. One of the things that I was speaking about the uniqueness of this is that AP has partnered with the Smithsonian Institute, and you'll see within the document, for every unit, there are required sources that the teacher must use for them. What is great about that
I
is that
apologize. I thought I turned it off.
what's really nice, especially for the students about that, is this course really is giving, in my opinion, a plethora of multimedia ways for students to engage with the content. So some of the requirements they have to look at are artwork, readings, primary sources, letters, there's documentaries in here. There's also music and discussing how music and poetry really can make history come alive. So that is, in my opinion, a really great part of this document. Additionally, there's a lot of suggested learning activities that are built throughout for students to, again, interact with the material, use those sources in creative ways to try to make meaning out of the content. All of this does have support from the curriculum framework, so we use that to then build out how we plan to teach this course.
When are you planning to implement?
This is already in place.
Okay.
It is open to students who are in grades 10 through 12. And this year we did have some students sign up, so we're hoping to build it out. It's a relatively new course. Last year was really the first year that the exam was given formally without it being a pilot.
This is the second year. Right?
It's our first year offering it. It was a gradual rollout from College Board to what we would say more of a pilot phase, and then schools can then begin to do full adoption of the framework.
So we also received a grant to support the resources and training of the staff, and the resources for the students. It also supports field trips this year. It was about a $10,000 or $12,000 grant, I believe.
So we were awarded $12,000 from the state. With that, we have been able to support this curriculum writing, purchase a textbook. Students got to go to Washington DC to the Smithsonian African American Museum. And on Friday, we're very excited. We have a traveling museum coming out from Southern New Jersey that is going to be further highlighting African American history in New Jersey. And we're going to have students at the high school here able to move through that museum, and students in this class will be the ones presenting this information to their classmates. So this is really a really good program that we're trying to build out.
Okay. And the students were interested about how many kids are in the class?
I believe this year was 13.
Okay, decent amount.
12 or 13.
Any questions on that? No, okay.
Oh, wonderful.
And my final document is more just an update to our 8th grade social studies document to include the civic standards. So, which actually the pieces that we have blended in really work well. 8th grade social studies focuses on American history, beginning from colonial all the way through Reconstruction. But really the first marking period really focuses a lot on the foundational documents, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, the different branches of government, and how we have become throughout our history where we are today. So we updated the curriculum to really illustrate those civics standards, and where we see them the most are really the first 2 units, which is the American Revolution and then America's First Governments, focusing on really the amendment process, Bill of Rights, all the branches, and what does that Constitution really mean when they're trying to go through it. So what's nice is we were already doing much of this within this framework, because you really can't talk about American history without focusing on this. So this was really just an update to that.
Was this previously a standalone class, civics at the middle school? Or
It was a 7th grade half-year course, so
but now it's all
7th grade and 8th grade.
okay, 7th and 8th grade now.
Correct.
Thank you for that. Anybody have a question?
That's it.
That's
Go to our agenda.
it. Okay, so that's our agenda. Our meeting ended early today. So, yes, that was the first for curriculum ever. Thank you to everyone who came and participated and for all your hard work. We really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
everything. It was wonderful.
Wonderful.